So I said I thought that the term service learning was a misnomer because it comes with so many connotations of doing for others, of giving, even of sacrifice. It doesn't have that notion of mutuality. The idea that one's giving and receiving, teaching and learning through example. It's learning about others, about their hopes and their aspirations and their fears that we discover ourselves. And for those of us who had the experience of living and working overseas, in a very different culture, one that is often characterized as being poor, as being miserable, as being without hope, the real shock, of course, was coming back and finding that our society also was characterized by that. And in fact, in many respects, we were too, as individuals. Of course, the poverty in Canada was different. There was misery, but it wasn't nearly as visible. But it's real. It's just that in a culture which celebrates the individual, you could look at the poor and the marginalized as, to put it a bit crudely, roadkill on the highway to success. I read in the report of the meeting of Lausch in June of 2007 the following statement. Human life is founded on the mystery of communion, of being and belonging together. We are always fragile and evolving. In this growth, we need to hold on to two ideas, to dream and to be tender. To dream is to imagine, to hope for the future. Although as humans we're very messy, we must always have a dream of coming out of the mess. We have to believe that we can change things. So what drives change isn't rational argument and analysis that influence how we think. It's seeing and believing that changes how we behave, that sets an example. We need that, of course. We need analysis. There are times when we need to use our brains, develop strategies. But underneath that, there has to be a deep understanding of why change is needed and a vision of how things could be better. They say that seeing is believing, but sometimes you have to believe in order to be able to see. And I think we're at a point today where a growing number of people see the need for change. See that living in a society that measures itself by consumption, it isn't healthy, it isn't balanced. A culture that values individuals for what they do rather than who they are treats people as instruments. And that sees growing disparities of wealth within societies or between societies is fundamentally unjust and destabilizing. And we can dream of what we would like to see. What we would like to see is a world that's at peace, a world that's environmentally sustainable, where there's economic opportunity and social acceptance and cultural riches for everybody. A world in which people are free to exercise choice, to develop their talents. A world where people can contribute to the communities that sustain them, communities that are diverse, supportive, inclusive. Is it really ridiculous to imagine a world like that? Actually, it's extraordinary that of all the species on the planet, ours is the only one that has the capacity of foresight, of being able to imagine a better future, of being able to hope. And beyond that, to actually take action to improve what we have. The only species. Why don't we exercise it? So who are the leaders who are going to express this vision of the world we want? My answer is, we are. Albert Schweitzer said, example is not the main thing that influences others, it's the only thing. And I would say by learning with the heart, that's how we develop an understanding, both of ourselves and of other people that can give birth to this world that we dream about. It might sound a bit like Pollyanna, but I think it actually connects with some of the discoveries in science and how reality is being perceived today. And I'm referring here to the shift from a Newtonian mechanistic view of the world, which is the one we grew up with, which seems like common sense, to I guess what we could call a holistic or quantum view of the world, where everything is counterintuitive. It doesn't seem to make any sense at all. It's not new knowledge. I mean, this has been known for more than 100 years. But I think its implications are only beginning to seep into the way we view the world. Because in the old mechanistic view, the world is out there. It's composed of objects. And to understand how it works, we have to take it apart. We have to examine the pieces. Then we have to put it back together again. We're separate from it. The world that quantum theory describes is completely different. Everything is interconnected, including the observer. We're part of what we observe. And the act of observing actually changes reality. So change doesn't come about as a result of applying external force. It comes from within. And therefore, individual actions are not just tiny and inconsequential, that common saying, what good can I do? They're part of a dynamic that operates within systems. I think Robert Kennedy expressed this when he said, each time a person stands up for an idea, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he or she sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. So it might seem that going from service learning to sweeping down the walls of oppression and resistance is a big step. But all social change starts with people. And the right people to lead it are people who don't command respect because of their status, or their power, or their self-importance. But people who have self-knowledge, and empathy, and compassion, that's rooted in a sense of who they are, and their understanding of the humanity they share with other people. So who are the leaders? We have to be the leaders. I think it was well said by perhaps the foremost living exponent of compassion, and that's His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He said, every human being has the same potential for compassion. The only question is whether we really take care of that potential and develop and implement it in our daily lives. I think that's what Intercordia is all about. And I want to just say thank you for coming tonight.